It's on the O block.
Oh, I was gonna say, well, because there's a virtual distinction between the essence and the energies, but I would say there's no real distinction because Thomas would say that leads to composition.
Okay, so but because there's a relation, because there's like this relation of opposition between the persons, so that way it wouldn't be composition, right?
Yeah, because insofar as they're opposed, they're not united.
Okay. So insofar as they're opposed, they're not united, but SA in, they're identical to the essence. Is that a numerical identity?
I mean, what do you mean by numerical identity?
As in, like, Leibniz identity.
Leibniz
They have all
Yeah.
the same
I
properties.
mean, yeah.
Okay, so unbegotten is identical to the essence?
Well, unbegotten. You said unbegotten's identical to the essence.
Yeah, I'm
I don't even
asking
think that means anything to say an absence is identical to the essence. I don't think that
to
makes
say
sense.
what?
To say an absence of a relation is identical to the essence is incoherent to me because there's like nothing cannot be
begotten-
identical to something.
Okay, well, is begotten identical to the essence?
Insofar as like SAN, yeah. SAOD, no.
What about insofar as SA-odd? Is it still identical to the essence?
No.
So then, what would it? It would be non-identical.
Yep.
So then, is SA? So SAN is insofar as like in terms of when we're relating it to the essence, right?
Yep.
So when you say it's identical to the essence, what do you mean?
Yeah, when I say like for example, filiation is identical to the essence, this refers to the SAN because relations are only real or the reality of a relation is in its SAN. Because remember, relation mostly speaking is an accident. So that's not it doesn't necessarily entail an accident, but in all creatures it entails an accident. But in God it's substantial. So that's kind of like the point of what I'm saying.
Well, no, I wasn't asking for like why that's the case. I was just saying, what do you mean when you say SA in filiation is identical to the essence? What do you mean by what's the kind of identity that we're talking about?
Hmm? Oh, we said what's the type of identity we're talking about?
Is it just
It's
material
real
identity? So it's material identity,
Sure.
correct? Okay, that just means it has the essence of that thing.
Mhm.
Yeah. So then you're not saying it's like you're not saying filiation is like literally A equals A, like they're the same object.
I am saying it's the same object, yeah. Filiation and the divine essence is one and the same object. Because again, like the divine essence is existence itself. So the existence of filiation is the same as the existence of the divine nature.
Well, of
And
course, of course.
the
Yeah,
SAR
I mean, the
doesn't
mode of
add-
existence is different, though, right?
said the mode of existence? No.
Yes. No.
No, I don't even know what that would mean. To say
Well,
the
have
mode
you
of
ever read?
existence.
Have you ever read Gregory Nyssa on Not Three Gods?
That was cold.
No.
Well, he talks about like the distinction between existence and mode of existence. And in the Cappadocian Fathers, like that's how they differentiate like existence inside the essence, like the
Yeah,
different
well,
ways that God is.
I just want to be
So
more
I'm just
clear,
saying.
when I was denying it, I'm speaking more in like a because when we talk about the fathers versus philosophy, I think the language is more strict in philosophy, but language was used differently amongst different time periods. So amongst the fathers, it would be more loose, like the same way Justin Martyr, correct me if I'm wrong, says things like another God, when later in Trinitarian theology would never say something like that. So it's more of
Well,
like
no, that's a mistranslation. It's actually just another of the same kind. He's saying there's another divine person there. You can look at the Greek, but that's a different conversation. It's a really bad like translation. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
No, I get what you're saying, but my point is just the language evolves. So when I was denying that, like modes of existence means anything, because in Thomism that would just be the same as to say, like hypostasis or how it subsists, and how it subsists would be
Yeah.
its hypostasis.
Hey guys,
so
what's
then,
up?
Well, yeah, that is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. I'm saying
Oh, just 1 second. I
hypostasis.
gotta turn on my.
Yeah.
So I'm saying like you don't think the mode of existence of the Father is a one-to-one, not you think it's one-to-one materially. It's not what I'm asking. I'm saying identity as in they have all of the exact same properties, not insofar as the essence, as in materially, but I mean in from looking at it, from looking at the Father as who he is that property of I guess you'd say paternity, right? Like, is paternity
Sorry,
literally
guys.
identical to the essence? Like, does it have the same properties? Does the divine essence like have the property of paternity? I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So the
It
divine
does.
essence has the property of paternity, and
Whoa.
so it would also have filiation
Yeah.
in
Whoa.
act,
Whoa.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whoa.
And when you say that the divine essence has those properties, like what does that mean for you?
It just means that the relation subsists in the divine substance as substantial.
Well, we know it's a substantial like hypostatic property. I'm not saying it's an accident. I'm saying is it like the same as the divine essence? As
Yeah.
in not just it has the substance of it or that it's a substantial hypostatic property, but like literally is it something that we can call distinct from the divine essence?
Yeah, we can call it distinct, but not in any real sense. It's virtually distinct. So in reality, then no, they're not distinct. Paternity and the divine essence, or filiation in the divine essence.
Well, I just think like there's a distinction that you're lacking because I understand that in reality, like insofar as like the existence of God, obviously the Father isn't a different reality or a different existence or has a different material identity than the essence. I'm saying like, is the Father as a person, as a relation for you? Is that something different than the essence itself?
Yeah, I just said, yeah, it's a virtual distinction. So the father as father, or as relation, would pertain to essayod. So because of the virtual distinction, then yes, it would be distinct from the divine essence, insofar as like um virtualities are considered.
Okay, so but you understand a virtual distinction requires a human mind?
It requires a human mind.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say so, but sure.
Well, what would you say?
The virtual distinction just needs two foundations.
Yeah, two foundations. What would those two foundations be for you?
Well, we could say it's a limited mind in God's eminent simplicity.
So it's in our mind and in God's mind?
No, because God's
What'd you
mind is
say?
not limited.
No, but what'd you say?
I said a limited mind, meaning a mind in which is finite, and God's eminent simplicity. So
So
once these
without
two
one of
foundations
those,
meet, there's a distinction.
wait, say that last part again.
Once these two foundations meet, it creates the distinction.
Okay. So what
Message
about before?
from Blackout, the server owner. Message from Blackout. We have a debate going on in the PNR stage. You guys go ahead and
Really?
make
What's it
your
about?
way on up there. The
What's it
perpetual
about?
virginity of
Sorry,
Mary.
what'd you say?
Interesting.
Flash versus Jonathan. Y'all make your
Okay.
way on up there.
Okay. Wait, one more question. So so if it needs those two grounds to make that distinction, then what you're saying is there would be no difference between the Father and the divine essence if humans didn't exist, because there's no limited mind to ground that distinction with God's infinite mind.
Well, that still wouldn't follow either, because the definitions would still like differ. Like theod would still not be identical to the essence.
Well, but you said it's only different insofar as a virtual distinction.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if
So
there
the
was no
proper
virtual
function of a
distinction, they would be
relation.
the same, right?
Yeah, that's just
Like,
saying the SAN, bro. You understand like theod is a function which is formal, right? Like it's saying an intelligibility, like insofar as we're able to understand the Father, then we're able to understand the Son as well, which is how it's relative. So being relative at all presupposes some definition or some conceptuality. So this is why we're saying, well, yeah, if you say that like, without a mind, or independent of a mind, these two things are the same. Yeah, that's just saying they have the same SAN, which we already said.
Well, are they still three different relations without any human minds?
Yeah,
Okay, so then why do we need human minds to ground that distinction?
we don't need the human minds to ground the distinction.
Between the essence and the
This
Father?
is sorry.
Yeah, no, because then
Between
Are
the
y'all
it's
essence
talking
and
right
the
now?
Father?
yeah, no, because then it's intelligibility. It's already distinguished.
So the persons are only distinct from the essence insofar as limited intelligibility?
Yeah, as far as intelligibility.
Well, limited intelligibility. Right? So they're only distinct when limited minds comprehend them. Or am I wrong?
No, we're saying in the concept itself they would be distinguished. So
But that's what I'm saying. Like without the concept, they wouldn't be distinguished.
yeah, what's up?
Yeah, so the persons aren't in reality distinct from one another. They're only distinct
That
when
doesn't follow.
we conceive of it.
That doesn't follow.
How so?
Yeah, because relations are real. Like that's the point. Relations aren't merely something of a mind, but since relations are real, and since relations imports opposite respects, then these two things would be really distinct. Even though it's in its intelligibility, the the function of SAOD still functions insofar as it's able to be understood. So the
Okay.
opposition would still import because of the SAN or because of its real existence.
You said they still import because of the real existence?
Yeah,
What does that mean?
they're still a function. They still function according to their nature.
Well, what does that mean in this context?
That they're towards one another, like relative being. Like because the
Oh,
proper function of relation is to be towards another, and that's what defines it. And that's my point.
so then why do we need, like, what's the whole thing about it's only a conceptual distinction then, or a virtual distinction?
Yeah, because SAOD and its function is virtual, or in the thing's intelligibility. And
In
that's
its
why, like
function.
fathers would speak of the persons as well. You can't understand a father without understanding a son, because in the ability to understand the father, you must understand that he has a son. So in its intelligibility, it refers to another. And since these really exist in the divine substance, then the persons would eternally be really distinct.
Oh, okay, so you're saying it's a virtual distinction, insofar as the function?
Well, I'm saying that what's it called? SAOD is virtually distinct, but the foundation in reality is the important part because that grounds the ability for the distinction, like the foundation in God.
Okay. So then without any human minds, the relations are still eternally distinct from one another.
Yep.
Okay, so it doesn't need a human mind.
You said it doesn't. What do you mean? Like it's
It
insofar as the
doesn't need a
distinction.
human mind to be distinct.
In order to create real distinction, yeah, no. That's why the persons are really distinct and not virtually distinct. So the
Right.
opposition doesn't need a mind, but to distinguish the relations from the divine substance, then yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, I get what you're saying now. Oh yeah, so then what you would be saying is just that each person has the divine essence, as in they're materially identical to it, right? They're not separate beings or separate existences from the divine essence, which is only one existence that contains Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, right?
Yep.
Okay. And so the only way to really distinguish the two is in the mind.
What, the Father and the Son? No.
Well, no, I mean the essence and the persons.
Yep.
What's the difference between a person and a relation?
Well, in Thomism, we say the persons are like subsistent relations. We don't really distinguish them.
Subsistent relations.
Yeah. So, like, the
Okay.
Father is paternity, the Son is filiation, and the Holy Spirit is passive spiration.
You mean active?
No, passive. 'Cause
Oh,
he
yeah.
receives.
No, that's right, because it comes from. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I think there's too much, like, because we are actually a lot similar, like, than people might think. I think we just kind of talk about things in a way different way.
The filiqoue itself is a linguistical issue, though, between the fathers, Latin and Greek fathers. It's not a theological disagreement. Otherwise, you would have to admit that the fathers disagree theologically in a doctrine super important, that being the procession of the Spirit. And I don't think you would like to do that.
Wait, what'd you say?
Yeah, I said it's a linguistic issue between the Latin fathers and the Greek fathers, right? Unless you want to say that the fathers disagreed upon such important doctrine, that being the procession of the Spirit, which I don't think you would say.
Well, we don't think it's linguistic, neither do you. Like,
We
our
do.
ecumenical councils condemn each other, so it's not just a linguistic difference.
Yeah, 1 second. We do think that it is linguistic. Florence clarifies it.
Well, no, not even Florence. I mean, the Florence certainly thinks there's a theological difference, right, between what people like Mark of Ephesus believe and what they believe. But the modern Roman Catholic Church, say the 1995 declaration.
But that would be assuming that Mark of Ephesus' interpretation of the fathers is correct, which it isn't.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
right?
Whatever. But the point is, the modern Roman Catholic Church, certainly in the 1995 declaration, they attempt to avoid using the terms that would piss off the Greeks, to put it plainly. They don't admit to the sameness of position, but they attempt to modify the terminology. So there is a move towards what Pavlow is saying, although
I actually,
still a,
1 second.
yeah.
I actually have something on the matter, and I think you're twisting it, which is from a theologian. Let me see if I can find it, because you're twisting it.
What do you mean? In what sense? Like, what do you think I'm doing wrong?
Let me see. I have a document on the matter, but from what I read, you are twisting it to an extent. The same way that our Pope didn't read the Filioque when we're setting the Nicene Creed with the...
Oh no. What I mean, no. What I mean is, certainly the Roman Catholic Church still believes differently than we do. I don't believe you're changing your. What I'm saying is, the expression, what's attempted in the 1995 declaration, it's an attempt to not use the terminology that the Greeks find problematic. And what people like Zizolas comment on it is, okay, cool, it's a good attempt, but why do you avoid it? Because that's the crux of the issue. We need to know what you mean by that terminology. So it's kind of an obfuscation.
Maybe to bring the Greeks back into communion, no? Or you would
Yeah,
say that being without
the
communion
problem
is better.
No, but the problem is...
One second. What would you say? Being in communion with Rome is better or not?
It's better not to be if the Romans are heretics, obviously. But
And how do you know that 1 second? And how do you know that the Romans are heretics in the Filioque?
No, because you teach falsehood. You teach against the teaching of the fathers and of the councils. But that's besides the point. We would get into a different debate.
1 second. So why did the Greeks accept it at Florence?
Well, I mean, the Greeks were pressured. They were in horrible conditions and so on. Some of the Greeks, anyway. There.
That's not what. 1 second. That's not what Bessarion states when he. 1 second. 1 second.
You're moving into a different topic.
No, I'm not, because the topic itself of the room is the Filioque is false. So we're talking about the Filioque. Okay.
No. My initial point on the 1995 document. You said I'm misinterpreting it.
Yeah. And while I look for the file, we can talk about the Filioque a little bit. No, you don't want to?
Yeah, sure. Let's talk.
Okay, so as I was saying, Bessarion, who was still an Eastern Orthodox when he wrote the famous work on the Union, right? He wrote that the Greeks were not pressured into accepting the doctrines that were presented to them at Florence whatsoever, that being purgatory, filiqoue, and papal supremacy. Not pressed whatsoever, he was still an Orthodox when he wrote that.
Yeah, the problem is the conditions the bishops were kept in at the time, and also the pressure at the very end from when the patriarch died and from the emperor who needed an alliance with the Catholics was what made most of them sign and what made most of them reject the signing later on when they came back to Constantinople. So it's a pointless thing. I don't know why you would be changing the topic to that. What I'm saying, the modern Roman day Catholic Church or modern day Roman Catholic Church, it is attempting to bring forth this sort of ecumenism via obfuscation, and that's not just with the Orthodox Church, right? You have the same
I'm curious
declarations and
because
Christology with
yeah,
with
I'm
the
curious because
monophysites. Yeah.
instead, what you see instead is the people of Constantinople opposing those same theologians when they returned and let the people know that they signed the doctrines
Yeah.
of the Latins. That's
Yeah.
not because they were oppressed, right, or because they were forced to. It's because the people itself objected to it.
Well, of course they did. There's multiple factors to it. There's the factor of the force of the emperor. There's the fact of wanting to preserve their seats and their existence because Constantinople was
Wait,
under
but
threat. There's
the
personal failure. There's all sorts of things.
which emperor are you talking to? Because there were two. One died early, and then you have the other, which was against the Union.
The man during the signing of the council. I think it was the
Yeah, Emperor
yeah.
John or Emperor Michael. Which one is it?
I think it was the previous one, the first one, right? The one before the
John.
signing of the union. Yeah,
What
he.
about him?
Well, the issue is part of the reason why the delegation was sent to Florence, right, wasn't because of some great desire to resolve the problem, right? It was due to the understanding that signing of the union will bring forth military aid to the emperor and to the empire itself and allow it to be preserved. And so it didn't. But the reception of those bishops, I think some of them were even thrown into the Bosphorus and so on. So the people clearly in Greece rejected such a union, and so did some of the bishops present there immediately, Mark of Ephesus, and I think one or two others, which are not often mentioned. And then obviously a lot of Greek bishops themselves present back in the provinces did not accept that, as well as the lower clergy.
So I'm going to give you the same emperor actually, in fact, accepting the Council of Florence himself and approving the council. Okay.
No, of course no, I'm saying he did, but the point is, part of the reason, because remember, even today, bishops act as political representatives of their nations. Even modern day Catholic bishops, even though they're removed a lot from their secular powers. And so part of the reason why the delegation signed it was highly secular, right? The Greek delegation. Obviously, there's no question of Florence being ecumenical. It's not by any standard. But just defending the Greeks here, and I'm not a Greek, part of the reason why they signed it is indeed due to the political pressure, and certainly the largest part because of the need to defend themselves from the encroaching Turks.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to press you on that. Can you show me any quotation from those same theologians who attended the council besides Mark of Ephesus because he didn't sign it? Can you give me any theologian, even the emperor himself, saying that it was merely political?
Not merely political, it was primarily political, right?
Can you
Obviously,
give me
there's
those
always
theologians saying that the reasons why they accepted
no.
was
I
primarily
don't have
political?
any quotes with me right now. No, absolutely not. No, I cannot. But if you read writings on that, you can certainly see, like for example, Orthodox Ethos has published a lot of books on the topic, like the political.
Oh,
Um,
I read. You want to know how much I read? I've read the Acts itself.
yeah.
I've translated the Acts of Florence and I've read them myself. You're not
Well, that's
correct.
good. That's good. But the point is, I don't have the material with me right now. I'm not on my personal computer. But the point is, this is. Would you deny that the political motivation is the factor? Would you say they went there for theological reasons?
Yeah, for theological reasons. So we
So,
have, and I'm gonna, one second, and I'm gonna appeal to Bessarion because Bessarion was still an Eastern Orthodox
no,
when
so
he wrote the famous work.
you
Okay.
deny that the primary reason was political.
Yes, I do. I think there was more than politics as being the primary reason in there. Mostly
Again,
theological, in fact. But can I?
All right.
Do you mind? Do you mind if I appeal to Bessarion, or is that an issue?
Yeah, you can. You can. I mean, I don't see the point, but you can.
Okay, thank you. So give me a minute. Let me get the quotations. Because Bessarion was still the same theologian who was opposing the Latins, and who said that the only excuse of the Greeks at the Council of Florence was to say all of those quotations that the Latins brought forward from the Greek fathers and the Latins especially were corrupted and forged. In
Yeah, because
fact,
many of
the
them
same
were.
act. One second. No, they weren't, and I'll challenge you to prove that. And the same acts of Florence in the Greek manuscripts as well prove that the Latins, not the Latins, that the Greeks were the ones who were correcting manuscripts before the session even started. So please, I advise you not to get into the corruption of the text because it's not going to go well for you. Well, let me
So
provide
what
to
do you want to
you.
show from
Sorry.
Bessarion? The treatment?
Yeah, 1 second. Because I have the entire work saved, so I need to find a quotation.
Why are we silent?
Hey, fuck you! I was about to break the silence.
Yeah, I'm getting the quotations real quick. Give me a minute.
Take your time, King Pablo.
Christos anesti ek nekron thanato thanaton.
That'd be singing, by the way.
Thank you. I'm not a tsundere.
While we're waiting, Mentality.
What's up?
What is your favorite song off of Off the Wall?
About what? Sorry.
What's your favorite song off the album Off the Wall?
I've never heard of Off the Wall. What's that?
Yeah, you're banned. You're banned
Bro,
off this
yo,
forever.
yo,
Banished.
what is Off the Wall, bro? Who's it by?
Bro, you don't know this?
No, who's it by? Off
The
the
King,
Wall?
the Goat.
What What King of England? Oh, you mean by Michael?
No.
You mean Michael Jackson?
Exactly.
I've never heard of his. Like I've never heard of his. What do you call it? Oh, I like XXX Tentation Off the Wall.
Yeah, no, never said it. Oh, you're not welcome here anymore.
I like Billie Jean. Billie Jean, not my lover. I like that song. Does that count?
I mean, it's not on the album, but I guess.
Okay, I like Thriller.
Thriller? Anyone else want to answer the question?
Anyway, so Paulo, while you're searching for that, I wonder, like, what's the whole point? Is this like sort of the thing you try to run? Like, what's the significance of the Council of Florence? Because by no standard is it ecumenical. I'm not sure what you're attempting to demonstrate. Maybe the treatment.
Not ecumenical according to whose standard?
Or any
Because
modern standard.
1 second, because Mark of Ephesus signed the council. So by
No,
whose
no, Mark of
standard are
Ephesus.
you
No, no,
appealing to?
Mark of Ephesus at the beginning of the council says we're calling an ecumenical council, but it's very clear that the
Correct.
council isn't ecumenical because it wasn't accepted ecumenically, right? It wasn't like, for
No.
example,
So what about the
hold on,
Greeks who
Paulo,
accepted the
allow me
council
to
besides
speak. Yeah,
Ephesus?
yeah. So, for example, the Russian church rejected the council, right? The Serbian church refused to attend it, which was a patriarchate at the time. You have
Mhm,
to have the patriarchs or the representatives of patriarchs present. The Bulgarian
mhm.
church, again, a patriarchate at the time,
So so
rejected
can
the
so so
council.
can so can you explain why is Chalcedon ecumenical without the Patriarch of Alexandria?
Well, because the Church of Alexandria, if you look at, I think, the Canon 30 of Chalcedon, it says that the bishops of Alexandria actually accepted the conclusions of the council, and that follows the Apostolic Canon 34. So if the leader of the nation is a heretic, right, he is rejected by the bishops, and the bishops install a new patriarch, which happened in Alexandria in 452. So it's either the nation being represented by its patriarch or by the council of the bishops of the nation. And so the reason why you and I consider it ecumenical is because the Church of Alexandria, because even the Romans, they separate the see of Peter
Mhm,
from the patriarch Peter, right? So the
mhm.
see of Alexandria did not actually reject the council.
Are you done? Can you
Yes.
can you can you provide evidence of the claim you made about Canon 30?
Yeah, let me go to the Acts of the Council. One moment.
Mhm. What Canon 30 says is, since the most religious bishops of Egypt have postponed for the present their subscription
Hmm.
to the letter of the most holy Archbishop Leo, not because they oppose the Catholic faith, but because they declare that it is the custom in the Egyptian diocese to do no such thing without their consent on and order of their archbishop, and ask to be executed until the ordination of the new bishop of the metropolis of Alexandria. It has
Yep.
seemed to us reasonable and kind that this concession should be made to them, they remaining in their official habit in the imperial city until the archbishop of the metropolis of Alexandria shall have been ordained.
Yes, and in 452, 1 year after this, by the Alexandrians, although in great opposition by the local Coptic populations, the Bishop of Alexandria, the bishop in communion with Rome and Constantinople and so on, was elected. So that's exactly what happened with these people.
You said what at first? Sorry, I didn't understand.
So I'm not sure what you don't understand. Like they agreed, right?
No,
These
just
bishops,
the
they
yeah,
had the
just the
Catholic faith.
beginning. I didn't hear about it. So repeat, please.
So to summarize, these bishops, they had the Catholic faith, right? They agreed with what the council says, but they said the custom of the Alexandrians is we have to elect an archbishop in our own diocese, in our own province. And we know historically there was a local council in 452, which was heavily opposed by the local population, but still it was there. And they did elect the Bishop of Alexandria there. So the principle of the see of the church having to agree to the council is indeed present in within the canonical acts of the Fourth Ecumenical Council.
Hmm. Okay, I can accept that. No
Yeah,
issue, to be honest.
I mean, I don't know why we wouldn't. That's the Catholic position as well.
Yeah, that's something I can accept it. No issue with that.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, would you consider the Council of Jerusalem in the 600s and Black ecumenical?
Yes, but in the sense of like not in the sense of ecumenical council as a because we consider that there's an act in the Seventh Ecumenical Council, Council of Nicaea, right, that says that you have to have the Church of Rome. So you have to have the consent of all the patriarchs and the assent of the Church of Rome, right? And so, can somebody who's crackling in the background please stop? Thank you. So the point is, the strict definition of ecumenicity of a council requires all of the historical patriarchs there, right? So some people would say, well, no, it's not ecumenical, but it's pan-orthodox. It represents the belief of all the Orthodox. Either way, I hold it with value. I hold it as authoritative, right? Whether you call it pan-orthodox or ecumenical is just a matter of technicality of how exactly you interpret that canon in the Seventh Ecumenical Council.
Can you show me where you had the permission by the Bishop of Rome, through which
To
you
do what?
consider Black to be ecumenical?
No, I'm saying within Orthodoxy itself, you will find some people saying, okay, Blackernay and Jerusalem and like the Council of Crete and whatever, they're ecumenical because they have the assent of all the patriarchs, right? And they represent the mind of the Orthodox Church. But some, again, in the Orthodox Church would say, no, we do not call
Yeah,
them
but
technically ecumenical
what's your position?
because well, my position is actually that since the Church of Rome fell away, right, that we do not need them for holding ecumenical councils because much like we
Can
have
you
the
read what the formula for Midas and the letter of Agato state, which
yeah,
was
I'm familiar.
received as binding in Constantinople III, that the Church of Rome, the See of Rome, would never fall? Correct?
Well, no, actually, within those councils itself, it was defined that one of the bishops therein, right, the Bishop of Rome previously, that he was a heretic. It was very clearly defined in that council. So it's
Yeah,
clear
Honorius.
that
Yeah, one
yeah,
second.
but
One
notice
second.
what
Honorius,
Agathos
one second.
says.
One
What
second.
Agathos says is that the bishops
Honorius,
preserve the
brother,
faith
Vlad
unsullied, right? They preserve the
was
faith
not a heretic
unsullied.
because
Oh, so you deny what the council says?
no, I don't. Honorius is not a heretic because he taught not monophysitism, monothelitism. He was
Yes.
condemned because he neglected to condemn Sergius, right, who was teaching that same heresy. That's why he was condemned. In fact,
So when he was asked, yeah.
brother, one second. In fact, we have not only Maximus, right, prior to his death, but we also have what's his name, the Pope John, the I don't know which John, but we have Maximus the Confessor and Pope John, right, who came after Honorius, defending Pope Honorius that his theology, right, when
I
it
know.
comes
Yeah.
to what's the name of the dogma? I forgot. I haven't read.
Dioteletism or what?
Yeah, dioteletism,
Yeah.
exactly. That his theology was faithful to dioteletism, right? Not to the heresy in on itself. Now, I would disagree with you in the sense that sure, Honorius was condemned, right? No, he didn't bind the church into error. So even if he is condemned, it's not
Well,
problematic for
okay,
us
okay. So
whatsoever.
so at
And
the
third
technical
point, one
level,
second,
yeah.
third point and last point. Do you mind? And
No, please.
and third, when he is condemned with the other heretics, right, who taught XYZ heresy, that doesn't mean that he taught the same heresy. That's the custom of the church, right? That if you have multiple heretics condemned within one specific council, that doesn't mean that they taught the same heresy, right? But they were condemned for teaching heresy in on itself in a very general sense. So even if Honorius is condemned with Sergius, that doesn't mean that he taught the same heresy that Sergius did.
So to address a very narrow thing you said, well, he didn't intend to bind the whole church to a heresy. I mean, at a technical level, you're
He didn't bind, not he didn't
yeah.
intend, he didn't
No, that's
bind.
fine. That's fine. So the point is, I don't think he wrote a letter similar to like I don't know the first proclamation of Vigilius, which intends to bind the church. Like he didn't bind. He didn't try to do something like that. That's fair. But in question, a letter was sent to him, right, asking to resolve this controversy, and he did respond in monothelite terms, and for that he was condemned, right? It doesn't say in the council he was condemned for negligence, right? It
It
says
doesn't have to.
yeah, but it says he was like the context of the condemnation isn't oh he didn't condemn these people who were heretics or something, right? The context that the council mentions is he or somebody wrote a letter to him. He responded, and the letter was asking him, okay, what do we do with this controversy? And he responded, and his response is monothelite. Now, I absolutely agree. Yeah, people like Maximus defended him because they themselves were fighting various heresies that sprung out of monophysitism, like monothelitism and so
Hmm.
on, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Like I agree. But my point is, we obviously take as Catholics and Orthodox councils over the fathers, and if a council says this man is condemned among the heretics, and in the acts of the council, the listing, like the explanation, the context of the condemnation is he sent a letter which teaches monothelitism. Then
Yeah.
what should be our conclusion?
Yeah.
Generally, yeah.
Can you show me where the council condemned Honorius, or who condemned Honorius was actually the next pope, right? The council accepted it and affirmed it. Can you show me where the council condemned Honorius specifically?
I can try to find. I don't have it in front of me, but I can dig it up. Sure.
Then go ahead, please. You can take your time. And also, I sent in the side chat an apology of Honorius written by Pope John. I don't know which John specifically. Not my greatest thing at remembering names of the popes, specifically when there are multiple Pope Johns, etc. But he clarifies the language of Honorius here. So, and by the way, just for your point to go forward and not stay stuck in the same position, you'd have to affirm and prove that the council did condemn Honorius in on itself, not with the authority and the affirmation of the Pope,
Are you
who is
saying?
in fact condemning Honorius.
Hold on. Are you saying that I'm implying that the condemnation is taking place without the Pope?
No, I am implying that the condemnation of Honorius not only is about negligence, not the Pope teaching heresy, right? Which even if it was, it wouldn't be binding upon the Church. Thus, no error and no problems for the Roman Catholic position, but also that the only reason as to why Honorius was condemned is because the Pope, the next popes, did in fact condemn them. And we have even more popes after those same popes clarifying the position of Honorius and justifying Honorius, right? And I'm not trying to say, oh, then this is a contradiction. Some popes condemn him, some popes justify him. No, that's not what I'm trying to imply. It's simply that Honorius was condemned by negligence, right? Not because he taught heresy. And if even though he was condemned, the only one who condemned the Pope, Honorius, at the time was the next Pope, not the council itself, because the council lacks authority to do so. And that's why I'm challenging you to show me where the council itself condemned Honorius without the approval of the Pope.
So I have the quote here. I just need to find at what exact point of the council it was said. You know that phrase where it lists like the Bishop of Haran, Sergius, Pierus, Paul, Peter, and then it lists Honorius. But I need to find like at which exact point in the council it was said.
Send a quote in the side chat.
Yes, hold on. So it's this one. I just need to. I have the PDF of the Acts, but I need to find exactly where it is.
This pious and orthodox creed of the divine favor was enough for a complete knowledge of the Orthodox faith and a complete assurance therein. But since from the first, the contriver of evil did not rest, finding an accomplice in the serpent, and through him, bringing upon human nature the poison dart of death, so too now he has found instruments suited to him, suited to his own purpose, namely Theodoret, who was bishop of Haran, Sergius, Pyrrhus, Paul, and Peter, who were bishops of this imperial city, and further Honorius, who was pope of Elder Rome, Cyrus, who held the see of Alexandria, and Macarius, who was recently bishop of Antioch, and his disciple Stephen, and has not been idle in raising through them obstacles of error against the full body of the church, sowing with novel speech among the Orthodox people the heresy of a single will and the single principle of action in the two natures of the one member of the Holy Trinity, Christ, our true God. A heresy in harmony with the evil belief ruinous to the mind of the impious Apollinarius, Severus, and Themistius, and one intent on removing the perfection of the becoming man of the same one Lord Jesus Christ our God, through a certain guileful device, leading from there to the blasphemous conclusion that his rationally animate flesh is without a will and the principle of action.
Yes, and below that I quoted. So this is I forgot where that part is from, but this part I know it's from session 13, and this is what I had in mind when we were talking. Um, this is the condemnation upon the monothelites in the council, right? It's the sentence of the council, and
Hmm.
it's a long quote. You can see the context of it, but the part that's interesting for me, it says, and with these we define that there shall be expelled from the holy church of God and anathematized Honorius, who was sometime Pope of Old Rome, because of what we found written to him. So what I was mentioning the letter, and I forgot who he was writing it to, but it was Sergius, by him to Sergius, that in all respects he followed his view. So all respects, the council finds and sentences that he is not only negligent, but in all respects he followed his view and confirmed his impious doctrines. We have also examined the synodal letter of Sophronius of holy memory, sometime patriarch of the holy city of Christ our God, Jerusalem, and found it in accordance with the true faith and the apostolic teaching, and with those of the holy approved fathers. Therefore, we have received it as orthodox and as salutary to the Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church, and declared that its name be inserted into the diptychs. So, what is the finding of the council? Is it negligence or heresy due to written work?
Heresy itself, it seems.
Right. And to be fair to you, Paulo, let me just say this because, many Orthodox and Catholic debates they try to, or debaters they try to really just wrangle each other with texts. I understand Catholics truly when they quote Maximus, because put yourself in the shoes of Maximus, right? He is completely surrounded by heresy, right? And some of the heretics are saying, "Oh yeah, you believe that, you are alone, and even the old Pope of Rome believed this alongside us," right? Obviously, as Maximus, you would be motivated to find a silver lining in it, right? You would be motivated to defend him. I would be motivated to defend him if I
No,
was in Maximus's
not
shoes.
necessarily. No, not necessarily. We see even in the 200s, 250s, where we see Saint Cyprian of Carthage, a Western father, a Latin father, going against a pope. That's not the
No,
case.
no,
No,
no, no, no, no, no. I agree. My point is, right? Uh, we don't take necessarily the defense of one father of another if an entire council found them to be a heretic, right? We can understand the
correct.
motivations of these fathers, and we can understand that they were probably holy, and as holy men, they were seeing everyone better
But
than themselves.
remember what I said, Vlad. Remember what I
Yeah.
said, because I also told you, even if Honorius did teach heresy, right, that would
Hmm.
still not be problematic for our position because it was not binding nor imposed upon the church,
Oh no,
correct?
that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Well, there is a letter that is binding and imposed on the church that was heresy, and that's the first constitution of Vigilius. But that's a different topic. This topic, I'm just saying, like the idea that in the letter of Pope Agatho, right, that the Church of Rome, and he specifically says his predecessors they never erred. This is directly contradicted by the council, and the
Yeah,
council
I have
finds,
something for you, in fact,
yeah.
because the council itself, I actually have in my notes, thank God,
Hmm.
God blessed. They actually changed the creed to an extent. So let me, not the creed, the session itself. Let me show you 1 second.
Hmm.
So I wrote a little note on the matter. So it says, and I'll post afterwards, in addition, Pope Leo II, when writing to the bishops of Spain, told them that he would send a Latin translation of the definition of the prosphonatic letter of the emperor's edict, and that he would send the acts of the council shortly after, and that they should subscribe to the definition of the council, not the emperor's edict. He says to them, we exhort you that by all the reverend bishops' submission should be annexed to the definition of the Venerable Council, and that each prelate of Christ's churches may hasten to enroll his name in a book of life, and thus, through the confession of his subscription, unite, as though present in spirit, with ourselves and the whole council in union of the one evangelical and apostolic faith. The same is revealed and consistent, and this is my note, the same is revealed and consistent in his letter to the King of Spain. Ervitius and Simplicius, now the definition is not the Acts or the Emperor's edict, but rather specifically the 18th session of the Council, where it says, Constantine, most pious emperor, said, let the before mentioned definition be read, and the reader read the definition as follows. Then it says, the devil, having found suitable organs for his design, Theodore, Sergius, and Honorius, who was a pope of old Rome, it's basically what you quoted, but I'll read it. And Cyrus did not cease to raise up by their means against the fullness of the church the scandals of error of one will and one energy in the two natures of one, of the Holy Trinity, Christ our true God, disseminating among our Orthodox people. By their novel language, a heresy harmonizing with that of Apollinarius, this definition was confirmed by Pope Leo II when he writes himself on this definition. And then he writes, and I quote, the Holy Universal, and I'm sorry for speaking too much, the Holy Universal and Great Sixth Council has followed in all things apostolic doctrine, and because it has perfectly declared that definition of the right faith, which the apostolic throne of blessed Peter had humbly received, therefore we, and through our ministry, this worshipful and apostolic throne symbolize in heart, and spirit with those things which have been defined thereby and confirmed them by the authority of blessed Peter as fixed on a firm rock where is Christ. He then goes forward and says the following, right? In like manner, we anathematize the inventors of the new era. Theodore, Bishop of Faran, Cyrus of Alexandria, Sergius, Pyrrhus, Paul, Peter, traitors against rather than rulers of the Constantinopolitan Church, nay, and Honorius also, who did not labor to preserve in purity this apostolic church by the teaching of apostolic tradition, but suffered the spotless to be polluted by the profane betrayal, and likewise all who have shared in their error. Right? So notice, what Pope Leo is doing is he's making a distinction between those who actively promote than those who passively promote it by negligence. So think with me, if Honorius was to be a promulgator of such heresy, then he would be included with the rest in inventing such heretical novelties within the church, right?
Well, no, he didn't. So clearly, the session 13 clearly says he wasn't the inventor of it, right? In fact, that's obvious from the using of the word agreed. So he says in all ways he agreed and confirmed with the impious views, right? So he's not the
Yeah, yeah.
originator of the
I'm
view.
posting in the side chat, by the way.
Yeah. But if you look at the session 13, which is before the session 18, what it's saying is, and I agree, like he was negligent. I'm not denying that, right? The point is, it's not merely negligence; it's a compound problem because the council clearly says they're not condemning him for mere negligence, though that is part of the condemnation. And that's a later commentary by the Pope, but that's true. What I'm saying, the council itself alone is explicit for what reason they themselves are condemning him. And they are condemning him because, think about it, right? I ask you, Polo, I'm really confused. There's really strange things happening in my church, okay? Should we believe that Christ has only one divine nature? And I send you a letter. And you reply to me, yes, believe in one nature of Christ is proper belief, right? And then somebody finds our letters. Your mentality. Can you mute
My
yourself?
bad.
And then sometimes later, right, somebody finds our letters and says, "Oh, look, Paulo was a heretic, right? He confirmed Vlad's impious, ideas or the impious ideas of people in Vlad's diocese, right?" Because that's exactly what they condemned him for, right? So it's not just passive. I don't care what's happening there. It's an active. Oh yeah, they're believing rightly.
But the council itself made a canon specifically for Honorius, right, to condemn him. Not only that, but infallibility in on itself, when it comes to the ecumenical councils, it's applied to the faith and morals, right? The church uh, can't infallibly declare
Well, that's
heretical, but one second, but the church itself can legally, as we agree in that aspect, it can legally condemn someone as a heretic, just not infallibly, right? And we have the next Pope, Gregory, stating that the Council, Constantinople III, is to be accepted only when it comes to the canons, to the issuing of the canons, sorry.
So in the East, we have a different view of councils generally, right? We would say that the sessions of the councils, in that the declarations of considerations of the bishops are also infallible. So, for example, when the bishops convened at Chalcedon to interpret the language of Saint Cyril, right? Even though that's not part of the canons, like their convention isn't like part of the canons apart from the general conclusion. Nonetheless, their convening was itself an infallible act, right? They infallibly convened and did what they did. So we have a bit of a wider definition, but if that is the case, right, the initial idea that you put forth fails, because why do I care if Agathos sent a letter to the council and showed a particular belief he had, right? If these acts, or well, acts in the sense of they were read in the council, if these acts are not infallible, then why would I care if Agatho merely said it, right? It's not the universal view
Wait,
of the church. You shoot yourself in the
but
foot.
the letter of Agato itself was received as infallible. What do you mean? The letter
No, no,
itself was
no,
accepted by the council as being infallible.
no. What was accepted by the council is the faith of the letter in terms of like the content of the theology. But it's very clear, unless you are to allege that the council
Can
contradicts
you
itself.
wait? Can you prove that?
Yeah, because to say otherwise would be to allege that the council contradicts itself, right? Agatho very explicitly says he doesn't speak merely of the See of Rome, right? Which would be understandable. He speaks specifically of his predecessors, like personal popes of Rome, right? And he says they have never erred in terms of theology and so on. They have maintained the faith unsullied. And the problem with that is that the council explicitly contradicts that part of the letter, right? And so
Which part? Sorry, I'm writing. Sorry, I apologize, bro.
that's fine. That's fine. It explicitly contradicts the idea that all of the personal popes of Rome have maintained the faith unsullied, because it condemns the previous pope as the one who, and I quote, in all respects followed the impious views and doctrines of the heretics. So, like, unless you allege that there's contradictions in what the people in the council believe, you will have to take a more moderate position and say, okay, the council accepts the orthodox diotolite faith of Agatho, but not everything in Agatho's letter is word for word infallible, right?
1 second, I'm getting something for you.
No, that's fine.
There's plenty of examples of the acts of ecumenical councils that are inaccurate.
No, that's fine too. But I'm saying like, and again, this is where I would criticize both modern Catholic apologists and modern Orthodox apologists. They have to understand that. I mean, even in today's councils, if you ever read some modern councils, um, bishops tend to uh, agree to what they like. And so, if it is the case that one of the bishops is having a long quotation on all sorts of topics, even those outside of the particular discussion of the council, if it is the case that it agrees with the general idea of why the council was convened, they'll say, this is good, this is fine. But nobody in their right mind thinks, oh, we agree with everything that the person says. And if you think like that, you'll find that ecumenical councils, which we all agree to, are full of contradictions, which is absurd. Like they weren't schizophrenic. That's
Yeah, like when it says that we accept all the teachings of, or we have to like accept every single thing that the fathers said. I can't
right.
remember which council said it, but it said
Yeah,
Basil, Gregory of Nyssa,
and it includes
Augustine,
Augustine.
Ambrose.
Yeah,
Right,
and
but they
Chrysostom, and they
taught
taught different
completely
things.
heretical things.
Yeah,
Oh,
it makes no sense if you take it in that manner, right?
it can't be hyper literal.
Right. It means explicitly to the doctrine discussed, and if you understand it in that way, then oh, all of a
Wait,
sudden, yeah, it
but the
makes
thing
sense.
is, yeah, 1 second. The thing is, we understand how the canons are accepted by the council differently. So in your position, it would be contradictory, not in mine, right?
Why so?
Because I don't hold that the councils itself are infallible, are to be accepted infallibly,
No. I mean,
only when it
obviously,
comes
we
to faith
don't.
and morals, right?
Yeah,
So it wouldn't
obviously
be a problem from my
we don't
position
think.
whatsoever.
No, listen. I mean, that's just a caricature. Obviously, like if a heretic is quoted during a council, like the quote of the heretic isn't infallible. Like no, but we're not mentally ill, right? The point is, it's not merely like canons of a council that are taken as infallible in the Orthodox Church. It is also the general conclusions of the unanimous council. So, for example, when I quoted session 13, right? Session 13, and unfortunately I closed that. Let me get back to it. Session 13, it actually begins with the Holy Council said, right? So it's not a quote of a heretic. It's not an opinion of a father. It's not a retort to another person's statement, right? It's the general agreement of what the council says, right? And so this quote, for example, you would say, well, it's not on the faith, it's not defining a doctrine specifically, right? It's not on the morals either. Well, maybe you can argue that, but it's just a general conclusion. Okay, these people were wrong, they were heretics, they have condemned the true faith. Right? And we would say this, which perhaps doesn't fall neatly into those categories you've defined, this in and of itself is also infallible, right? We're not saying every quote possibly brought up is infallible. So we have to I try to fairly represent both positions.
But we're not addressing what I posted in the site yet. Why do we have Pope
Oh,
Leo
okay.
II
Let's see. Let me read
modifying
that.
the creed itself within the council, and nobody objected to it,
Oh no,
denying that Honorius
this
actually taught heresy, that he
no
followed
this
Sergius and the heretics?
No, this happened all the time. Greeks and Latins, pretty much. I mean, since even before the Fourth Council, they used to have different translations and acceptance of different canons. Like, for example, even the apostolic canons from the
No, excuse
200s,
me. No, excuse
from
me,
the
brother. It's not different canons. No, that's not different translated canons. The canons meant the same thing. They said the same thing. If you're referring to
no, no,
canon
allow
3 of
me. No, 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 no,
if you're
no, no, no,
referring
no,
to
no, no, no,
canon
no, no.
28 and
No, no,
canon
allow
3
me.
of
No, no.
Constantinople 1.
Allow me to speak. Allow me to speak. So, for example, after the condemnation of Vigilius, right, when he rejected his ideas in the second constitutum, he was sent back to Rome. He died on the way back to Rome. But the sessions that were given to him to save his face in Latin, right, were given to him without the parts where he was removed from the diptychs. That's one example from church history. Yet, the Greek sessions of that council have the removal of Vigilius from the diptychs. That's one example. Another example, the apostolic
But
canons, right?
Vigilius, 1 second. If you're talking, sorry, and that was a little bit less. If you're talking about the authority of the council itself, Vigilius kept the claim of he didn't capitulate to imperial pressure, right? He didn't lessen his claims. He said that the council was
Oh no,
confirmed,
oh
but
no,
it
no.
was not confirmed through his authority.
No, he did, but I'll get to that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'll get
Can
to that.
can
But
can you
the
prove
point
it?
is, no, no, I will prove it to you. But what I'm saying is, this is a common practice. As much as we do not like it today, and as much as people don't like to admit it, it is a very
Mhm.
common practice in the early church for Latins and Greeks to have different canons or translations of the same exact thing for various reasons, right? And so just one very famous example is indeed the condemnation of Vigilius. Another is the adoption of the apostolic canons. Like, how many do you adopt? Do you adopt a 50 or I don't know how many of them are, 80 something, right? There's just differences in how things are accepted and how they were done between the East and the West. And some people try to cope with that, say no,
Yeah,
it was just a
yeah.
fact.
But I disagree. You know why? Because
Why?
and before we go forward, I'd like you to provide evidence that in fact the council was confirmed due to the
Yes.
authority of Vigilius. And I would like you to explain because I don't want to run away from
I
Constantinople 3.
wanna, no, no, I
Um,
wanna. So what I wanna do is I wanna show you that Vigilius in the first Constitutum, what he did was he basically bound the entire church to something that is wrong, right? With same language we would
Vigilius?
use. Yes, yes, in the first Constitutum, with the same language that would be used of modern popes to declare ex cathedra doctrines. Let me just get it from my notes. One moment.
Yeah, go ahead, Ed. And I'd like you because I don't know why we're going into Vigilius, and I can defend Vigilius. It's not a problem the same way that I can defend
No, we
Honorius.
can. It just came
I
up to
wanna,
me.
I
We can
wanna.
stick to
Oh
the
yeah,
topic.
okay.
That's fine. Yeah,
I want to address why
whatever you
did
want to.
Pope Leo II actually changed the creed of the council, right? And why did nobody within the council objected to it? He denies himself that Honorius was present in following the heretics who were teaching heresy.
No, who told you this was from a letter of Pope Leo, I think, sent to the Spanish bishops. Who told you he changed the council in the council?
Did he not? It's right in the screenshot that I sent you.
No, it just says Leo removes that he followed them in heresy. Who told you this was removed from the actual acts of the council? This is literally on the
I'm not saying. Oh, my
on
bad.
new.
My bad.
Listen, on a Catholic website, you can find the exact one I'm quoting.
Listen. If I said that he removed from the acts, I apologize. I'm saying that he justified. He's justifying my position that Pope Honorius didn't teach heresy whatsoever.
No,
right?
that's fine. No, I agreed with you previously, like at the beginning of this conversation. I agreed with you that some of the later popes, especially, not even popes, but like people we venerate, like Maximus the Confessor, he attempted to defend, Honorius. That's fine. I don't have an issue with that. What I'm saying is there isn't some unanimous papal modification of what was in the Acts. What's in the Acts is very clear. But the question is, do people have motivation to defend a pope in the middle of a monopolite controversy?
No. Excuse me. No. Excuse me. So when Agato died at the council itself, right? He died during the council, during Constantinople III, right? We would agree. Mid the council, right? And then Pope Leo II came, right?
Yeah, so do you agree that the acts of the council, which by the way I'm reading from a Catholic encyclopedia, would you agree that they are, as I've read them, not in any sense changed materially by Pope Leo, rather when he
Not
is...
what I'm asking you. Not what I'm asking you.
So what are you asking me?
Did Pope Leo II came after Pope Agato died?
I think I don't remember actually. I don't know. I don't remember.
So I'm going to help you, and I'm going to tell you he did. And I'm going to tell you, that he approved the acts of Constantinople III.
No, that's fine.
And before he approved it, he wrote the same letter that is in the screenshot that I sent you in the side chat, and I'm going to send again. Right? So again, the council is not saying what you think it's saying. Otherwise, you have to affirm the contradiction between the Pope, who from Rome, who is still in communion with the East at the time, right, and the East with the Pope, vice versa. Or you have to acknowledge that your interpretation of the council condemning Honorius for teaching heresy is simply wrong. It's one or the other.
No, what do you mean? I just gave you multiple examples of popes and generally people in the West having or translating and even changing certain things within the agreed like conciliar documents in order to make them more palatable to a Western audience. In fact, one of the things you mentioned previously, it was I think the formula of Hormisdas that had at least 3 or 4 versions that were modified and signed differently by different bishops. This is just how, unfortunately, and I'm not defending this, but that's just how things worked back in the day.
Say
right?
again, sorry?
It's not... What?
Say again, sorry?
For example, you mentioned way earlier, you mentioned the formula of Hormisdas, right? That thing in and of itself has at least 3 or 4 different versions with wildly different language, right? Which were returned and signed by different bishops in different ways with different qualifications. And that's simply how it worked in the early church. It's not a comfortable thing to speak of, especially to people like catechumens and people who don't know, but it's people tended to be very self-serving in a lot of ways, and so one of the ways it was done is, okay, if I'm the Pope and what the council concludes is not pertinent to my authority, I'm going to send a version of this, as you yourself said, to the Spanish bishops, which I modified a bit to be more palpable in language.
Wait, so can you actually give me the 4 different translations of the formula of Hormisdas?
I don't have them with me at all. You can, I think Craig Trulia has done a bit of work on that in his book, The Rise and Fall of the Papacy. You can read it there. I have no material with me right now. So I can just say that and, say you can research it, but I don't have the material to debate it.
All right.
But you can find it within the book.
Yeah. But about Constantinople III, as we were talking about, right? How would you get around the fact that Pope Leo II interprets the condemnation of Honorius, because he isn't against it? Don't get me wrong, right? Honorius is condemned, and I'm not saying that Pope Leo II denies it, right? I'm saying that he interprets the condemnation as being about negligence, not being about heresy, teaching heresy. So if you think that Honorius taught heresy, how do you get around that? because nobody opposed Pope Leo II when he clarified about the condemnation of Honorius.
Well, again, who do you think? Hold on. Who do you think he clarified this to? Where do you think this modification took place?
To the council itself, I think.
Did it? Are you sure?
Who do you think it was to?
Because the thing, I think it was sent to Spanish bishops or something. I don't remember it. I would have to look at the acts and the scholars around it. But the point is, the very modern Roman Catholic, like say the Encyclopedia from 1913, it has the unmodified version, right? So the question is, okay, what did the actual council arrive at? And the council arrived at the fact that Honorius was simply a heretic. And the reasoning is, and funnily enough, even if we put this aside, right, what I am primarily quoting is session 13, which gives specific reasoning, right? You're arguing from another session and what he modified. But the specific reasoning, right, is that he responded in a way which affirms heresy. It's not passivity, right? It's not passive ignorance, passive permission, miswording. And we know that fathers are capable
But
of judging.
you see what the issue is, because not
Yeah,
only do you not find that in the letter of Agato, right? You don't find it in the letter of Agato, nor do you find that
find
in the
what?
affirmation and conclusion and explanation of Pope Leo II that Pope Honorius did in fact teach heresy and that he was a heretic. He was condemned, sure, but it was for negligence, right?
Okay, okay. Take
That's
a
all I'm
look
trying to
at.
affirm.
Look,
I don't deny that he was.
go to.
1 second. I
No,
don't deny that he was condemned. I agree with you in that aspect. I'm simply saying it was about negligence, right? You're saying
okay.
it was about heresy. I
This
deny
is
that. If
from.
that is the case, why don't we have further dilemma about the next pope who confirmed the Acts of Constantinople III, right? When he clarifies that Pope Honorius did not teach heresy, rather he was only condemned for negligence. Why don't we have fight about it or some sort of a further argumentation?
Because this happened all the time. The people whose when the formula of Hormisdas again is being sent to people who sign it, they modify it and translate it differently and sign it to a way they like it. Exactly what the Pope does in terms of the council here and of particular parts of the council
Okay,
he
but
doesn't like. People did this all the time.
you keep bringing the formula for me. Does you'll need to back
Yeah.
that up if you're gonna quote that over and
No,
over and over again.
I'm giving you an example, right? But what I gave you is something else in the side chat. Go here. This is from the Catholic Encyclopedia of 1913, right? And
Mhm.
if you go to session 13, it's Roman 13, by the way, if you're doing Control F, like XIII.
No, I'm on the phone at the moment.
Oh, that's fine. But if you scroll down to session 13, this is what I was referencing previous, and I put it in side chat, but just so you can see that it is one, that it is unmodified, and two, that this is how do I put it? That this is the context. You can see everything around it. Vlad isn't salting it up himself. Basically, the reasoning they are finding for his condemnation isn't negligence. The reasoning is that he follows them in all ways due to his reply, right?
Wait, no. In fact, hold on. Let me actually, if you don't mind, I'll actually use AI to ask who was the letter that I sent in the side chat. Let me quote it again for you, because I have no idea who it was written to.
I don't
In
either. I
fact,
think it was to the Spanish bishops, but
not
maybe you
the
can find out.
not the letter of Pope Leo II. This one that I sent in the side chat. So if you
Oh,
excuse
what's
me, I'll
this?
use AI just to ask who it is from, who it is
That's
to.
fine. I have no idea who it is to. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so it's written by Pope John the Fourth. Can you hear me? It was written
Yes.
by Pope John the Fourth. Oh, all right. So you do have an issue. According to the AI, as it's telling me, it was written to the council itself. And let me see when did Pope John the Fourth came, real quick.
Yeah, check that. Maybe I have in my drive the full acts. Hold on. But that will be a problem to search through. One moment.
How did you get this quote like ready with the underline and the highlights and
Yeah,
everything?
I have them saved. I have a private group, and besides the group, I have my alt account with a lot of stuff saved in there.
Oh, okay.
What's even the argument? I don't get the argument.
Anathema to Honorius.
The Pope was anathema.
Anathema to the Pope.
You know, I'm confused because Pope John IV, his papacy time comes before Constantinople III.
Right. So it seems like an AI hallucination to me, but maybe
Oh,
maybe
no.
it's something.
Yeah, so oh, I see.
So I have the full acts of the Fifth Council, but I don't have the 681 Council.
Okay.
Do you happen to have like the acts of the Sixth Council PDF, by the way, Polo? Because I have
I can see on my PC. Let me see real quick.
Because funnily enough, the reason why I don't have some of the quotes is I'm looking at my file in Drive. Um, I only have the fifth and the fourth. I don't have the sixth. If we have the sixth somewhere, we can actually try to just Control F. Maybe you're on the phone. I can try to
The
Control F it
sixth,
here and find.
the sixth session.
No. The fifth and the sixth councils, the ecumenical councils.
5th and 6th. Yeah, I'll see. Give me a moment.
I only have the fifth, the 553, but I don't have the 681.
I might do. Yeah. I don't think we'll get anywhere. But it's nice debating about it from time to time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, especially with someone that's a bit more structured and knowledgeable. Yeah. Yeah, that too.
Yeah. So let me see. Jesus. While I take a look for it, what do you think about the Acacian Schism? Do you think it proves the papacy?
No, I vaguely remember it, but no.
Oh, okay.
There are so many of these little episodes. But yeah.
I'd say it's a pretty big evidence for the papacy. But since you don't remember, let's put that aside. Constantinople 3, 5th and 6th.
Not to deride the topic because we're speaking of a completely different time period, but since somebody quoted it in side chat, what do you think of the Haec Sancta Synodus proclamation?
I think it's OG. I haven't read it fully yet, but I think it's good. Not gonna lie.
No,
From the Pope.
No. Oh, no. Way earlier than that. It's from the
Contra
Council of
Vatican is quoting.
No. Yeah. It's from the Council of Constance.
This guy uses this guy GPTs to quote. It's super obvious.
Yeah, let me actually get the actual quote because that's not. Yeah.
Is the
It's super
full
obvious.
quote?
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. I'll send you the full quote right now.
So why are you saying it's a full quote if it's not a full quote?
There you go. I'll give you the citation.
So this is the actual quote. It says, first, the council declares that legitimately assembled in the Holy Spirit, constituting a general council and representing the Catholic Church militant, it has power immediately from Christ, and that everyone of whatever state or dignity, even papal, is bound to obey it in those matters which pertain to the faith, the eradication of the said schism, and the general reform of the said Church of God and head and members. I'd say, to be extremely fair to Catholics, right? In terms of Haec Sancta, because it is something I would use. However, you have to be, when you get deeply into these matters, you have to be extremely fair if you actually want to be, truthful. And so, I think immediately the next council, I don't know if it was Florence. I think it was Florence. Yeah, this was 1418. I think at Florence, the ideas of interpretation of haec sancta as anti-papal were condemned, right? So a modern Roman Catholic cannot say, oh, I follow the haec sancta degree. No, that interpretation was condemned at the next General Council of the Roman Catholic Church. But what is
I don't know that. I'd have to read it again if I'm being honest with you.
I'm actually defending you, so that's fine. But what I would say, where it is useful, and where I think a lot of Catholic scholars and even popes would agree, is that haec sancta demonstrates that, particularly in the Church of France, way after the Great Schism, so these are 1400s and into the 1500s, you have, and in many other places as well, but it was centralized in France, you have a very papal supremacy view of the church. You have a very conciliarist idea of the church, and that idea lived on way past its condemnation at Florence. So it's useful, I think, in saying, okay, this idea exists in the Roman Catholic Church way after the fact, but it's not useful in the sense of saying, oh, there is a fundamental contradiction in Catholic doctrine, because that particular interpretation of the degree is condemned some, I don't know, 30, 40 years later by a pope. So, yeah.
Wait, so according to you, you're saying that you can just condemn ecumenical councils?
No. So what the Pope did at I think it was Florence. So it was in
Because you have
1439.
to
This was
this is a ratified council.
No. So contra Vatican. I'm Orthodox, right? I'm not. My intent is not to defend the papacy, right?
Yeah. Also,
My intent
Vlad,
is to
I
be
don't
fair.
have the
You
PDF
Orthodox?
itself. And to
Yes.
be fair, right? On the other hand, it goes both ways, right? So, for example, if you are to bring that to me and I have no defense, the same thing goes back against you. For example, Canon 28 and Pope Leo annulling it, right? And there's multiple other examples, right? So it goes both ways, but I'm pretty sure that you have an explanation, right, for both
Mhm.
positions. Now,
Mhm.
one is going to be stronger than the other, right?
Yeah.
But it goes both ways, right? What I wanted to tell you is I don't have the Acts of Constantinople 3 now.
I don't either. So, I tried finding them. I only have the full acts of the third and the fifth council. So, we'll leave it aside. Hopefully, I can maybe get them from somewhere. But
Right, it.
what did I want to say? Yeah, I was talking to Contra Vatican. So I'm not Catholic, right? My interest, Polo is.
By the
I'm
way,
not. I'm
here's the
Orthodox.
website in the
Yeah. No.
Yes, you
So
are Catholic, bro.
yeah. So listen. My point is,
You
right?
are Catholic.
I would agree with you, Contra Vatican, that to interpret this in a way in which the papacy is, maintained is extremely difficult. But what I'm saying is the Roman Catholics themselves, they've condemned very soon after the interpretation in a general council that their whole church agreed to, the interpretation which would be anti-papal, right? So this interpretation remained in various parts of the church, like in the Church of France, for example, but at an ecumenical level, they did condemn it soon after. It was, even if it was a movement that existed. Now, can they consistently interpret it? I don't know. I think it's very difficult to consistently interpret it, but we have to be fair in how much it actually proves, right?
well,
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
say you can well yeah, I don't deny that they can claim this idea of clarification or reinterpretation, but ecumenical councils cannot contradict each other.
No, I
That's
agree
not
with you, and
because
that's yeah.
for example they say the same thing. For example, in Vatican II in Regenito Section 3, when it claims
Yeah.
that heretics in the body of Christ, they can claim that clarifies the Council of Florence or it anathematizes heretics beyond from the body of Christ. They can claim it's a clarification. They can claim it's a reinterpretation. They can claim it's consistent, but that's just a claim, right? If there's obviously a contradiction, that's not a development of doctrine. That's a contradiction.
Yeah. No, but
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm saying
Vlad,
it's a bit
do you
more.
wanna Vlad, do you wanna still talk about the filiqoue, or if not, I'm gonna go out because it's 3 a.m. for me.
It's 4 a.m. for me. I'm gonna be going soon after this, so I would end it there.
Jeez.
But I just to continue defending Catholics a bit more.
Bro, those are
Um,
excuses, my guy.
I'll send you. I'll send you a request, and we can actually either talk in here
Oh,
in a voice
absolutely.
call or in private.
Where were y'all talking about while I was gone? Though?
Filiqoue. That was a 1 hour and 24.
Papacy, bro.
That was 1 hour, 24 minutes, and 40 seconds.